Winning episode 12. So here's what happened the day I went to the Wheel of Fortune. It was 2020. We were still in the middle of quarantine. And so Wheel of Fortune had just implemented COVID protocols so that they could figure out how to film shows during the pandemic and still have new episodes. So I was one of those first crew of people that got to go on the show. I think we filmed it I think it was August 2020. And so wearing masks was still new and getting COVID tests was still kind of new. And so we had to go through all that. So we had to, so the studio, mind you, is at Sony. It's in Culver City, which is about 35 minutes away from Glendale, where I live. So I had to drive to Culver City for a COVID test the day before. And that had to come back negative, obviously. And then the next day, I had to get up super early and get to the studio to tape my show. The way they were doing it at that time was they would tape, I think, 6 episodes in a day, and they wouldn't tell you if your episode was going to be first or sixth or somewhere, and they couldn't tell you which episode you were going to be on. So you had to be there early and prepare to stay all day. If you were in the 6th episode, you just ended up sitting there all day in the studio audience, which was great because you love the show anyway. Luckily, I was in episode 3 that day, so I didn't have to stay all day. And another thing they were doing at the time, after you filmed your episode, I think you had to leave. Like, you couldn't even decide to stay and be in the audience because they were still doing COVID protocols. And they had these, I forgot what they called them. I forgot what we called them. Anyway, they had these handles that you put on the prongs of the wheel to spin the wheel. Kind of like a wheel condom or something. It was a little weird, but whatever. It's not like you had played the wheel before, so that's just what we had to do. So, got up early, got there, had to fill out paperwork. We couldn't sit next to each other, so we didn't really get to talk to the other contestants the way we wanted to, because they kind of were suggesting that we keep our distance. And because we were all still kind of new to the whole COVID protocols thing, that's what we did. So we didn't do a lot of introducing ourselves to each other and talking and chit-chatting and all that. We were just excited to be there and to be, playing the show and living out this lifelong dream. So you're sitting there, we watched the show, watched the first couple episodes. You can't believe you're there. Before you tape your episode, everybody got to go on stage and practice spinning the wheel. So you got to feel how heavy it was and test your strength with it. So you got to do that a few times before you actually taped your show. Also, Vanna White came out to say hello to everybody, which everybody always says the same thing about Vanna. She's just super, super nice, which she is. Pat, not so much. This was before he had announced his retirement, but still, Pat, everybody knew Pat was old and crotchety and was kind of over it at that time. Even back then, this was 2020. I already felt like he was kind of over it. So he didn't come out chit-chatting, being nice, all that. Whatever. So anyway, met Vanna, test yourself on the wheel. And then at some point they tell you which episodes you're going to be in, and they tell you which order you're going to be placed on the stage, either red, yellow, or blue. I think I was blue. Pretty sure. Can't remember. Anyway, I was third from Pat. So I came to my taping, sitting there watching the other 2 tapings. That was fun, of course. And, you can't say anything, but we had a good time watching. And then the excitement is building, the adrenaline is pumping. You finally get there and you're like, you hear the music and you hear Charlie announce it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. And when I tell you it goes by quick, I mean, it goes by so quick. It doesn't feel anything like 30 minutes. It really feels like 10 or 15. It's so fast. You're like, it's over already, huh? But I wanted to win so much more money, whatever. And before you get there, you're just like, what if I get the $1 million wedge? Like, I could really win. Like, what if this changes my whole life? You got all that going on in your head, just excited. Or at least that's how I was. So anyway, I'm third. We get ready to get started. And the first toss up comes up, and I came out the gate hard. The first puzzle, it was 3 letters and a question mark. And the theme of the show was weekend getaways. So I kind of had that in my mind when I solved it. But I solved it with 3 letters and a question mark. And I was like, boom, got it. Here's the clip.
Category, here comes the puzzle, and we are off and running. Rodney.
Is it Friday yet?
Yes, got it. Okay. You got a
So yeah, I came out the gate hard. I was like, I'm here to play, people. And then I introduced myself and I mentioned my 2 friends. I don't think I named them in the intro because I didn't have that much time, but I said that I was friends with, that I was a member of 2 churches, and at each church I had met somebody or befriended somebody because they were on Wheel of Fortune. So that was true, which I referred to in my last episode. So I did that. I'm not going to play the entire episode of the show, but I'll just tell you the highlights. My highlight was solving one of the crossword puzzles. And in doing so, I won a week-long trip to a luxury casino resort in Palm Springs, which was awesome. So here's that clip.
3 eyes, and all the vowels are gone. There are the eyes, so it's spin or solve here, Rodney.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
All right.
H.
Some H's. Pick up that Palm Springs trip. Put it down below you there. It's worth over $7,000. There you go. You've got that and $1,800 cash. $800.
D.
1D.
That I'd like to solve.
All right, say everything. Don't add anything. Be careful. Go ahead.
High. Handwritten. Foot. Post-it.
Yeah, all notes. There you go. Well, you're off to a good start. Hold up that prize because we want to know more about it, and Jim Thornton's the guy who can tell us.
Certainly am. Let loose and have some fun in the desert, Rodney.
So the resort we went to was the Agua Caliente in Palm Springs. And the cool thing about winning a trip to Palm Springs was a lot of people were winning trips to Caribbean islands and other places that were not quite back up and running due to COVID. Well, when you win a trip on a game show, you usually have a year to take the trip, a year from the date that the show airs. So a lot of these people complained that when they won a trip during this time, when they had a year to take it, by the time a year rolled around, the resorts in the countries that they won trips to were not reopened fully. So they would get this amazing week at this resort, and then they would go to the resort and the restaurants wouldn't all be open, or the staff wouldn't all be there, so they wouldn't get their rooms cleaned every day. So the world was still trying to figure out what to do with COVID. So luckily, I didn't win a trip to a foreign country. I didn't have to get on a plane. We didn't have to worry about that. We didn't have to worry about whether or not the resort was up and running, because by the time we took our trip to Palm Springs, number one, I could just get in the car and drive because Palm Springs is 2.5 hours away. And number two, by the time we took our trip, the casino resort, Agua Caliente, had well figured out how they were going to run COVID and how they were going to run, clean the rooms. Everything was open. And it was great. The trip was awesome. I think it was like $7,000. And Frida and I, when we won it, we were like, man, what kind of trip is it that you win $7,000? Well, that's not what this video is about. But the trip was so awesome because everything was paid for. We got a private cabana. We got a spa day. And we got $1,000 resort credit to use at the restaurants and in the gift shop. So we literally did not have to leave the resort. I think we left the resort to visit a friend while we were there for a week. But it was the top notch room at the resort. It was awesome. It just was an awesome trip. So if you're keeping up with my episodes, this was the fourth trip I had won in my life. Yeah. Africa, did the 2 trips on The Price is Right, and then the Palm Springs. So yeah, this was the fourth trip I had won on a game show, and this was local, but still, it was a free trip, so it was awesome. Now, getting back to the rest of the show. This is when I learned the hard way that it's so much easier to play the game when you're sitting on your couch than it is when you're actually there in the studio. When I'm playing Wheel of Fortune at home, I always figure out the puzzle before the contestants. Like almost always. Never have a brain fart sitting on my couch. Like never. Like it's so rare that a puzzle would come up and I literally would not know it or couldn't see it. It just didn't happen. Well, here's what happened in the moment on the show.
Symbol for this. All right, what letter do you want to start with?
X.
1X, yeah, worth $1,000.
P.
There is a P. Give him 1,000 more. What do you want to do next?
R.
1R.
C.
And 2 C's. Let's get those up there. You have $7,000. Rodney, what do you want to do next?
Like to buy a vowel.
Okay.
I.
There you go. 2 I's.
L.
There's no L. I am sorry, and you have to get rid of that wild card.
No, that's fine.
Yep. Shannon, it's your turn.
I'd like to solve
Go ahead.
fantastic experience.
Yeah, that's it. Well, she may have lost her chance at $1 million. She may have hit that bankrupt, but she's going to St. Croix, so
And it taught me a very valuable lesson. So it's like if I were sitting at home on my couch or if I wasn't on the express, I absolutely would have figured out the first word of that puzzle. Absolutely. Like, I know I would have. But for some reason, in that moment, with the pressure going and me having to pick a letter right then and there in the moment and not knowing what the word was, I kind of panicked a little bit. Like, I should have bought a vowel. I ain't think about all that. I was all that time staring. I was trying to figure out what that first word was. And it was like that word did not exist in my vocabulary. I just didn't see it. Like it's not a word that I use often in my everyday language, like talking. But it's a common word. I mean, it ended in IC. I very well could have figured it out, but for some reason in that moment, I was not thinking a generic adjective. I was thinking something much more specific. I don't know why. And the only thing I could think of was like Baltic or Gaelic, or I just had no idea. I really, it's like the word fantastic did not exist. So when the other contestant came right after me and said it, all I could say, and they didn't record it or they edited it out, I just said, I didn't see it. I just shook my head, looked at the board, was like, I didn't see it. Because there was nothing I could have done. Like, because I, play it back in my head, like, what could I have done differently? Yeah, I could have called a word. But I think, honestly, if I had even called an A, I still might not have figured it out. Because, like I said, the word fantastic just wasn't in my brain. It's like it didn't exist. It's like it wasn't a word. Very strange. So I felt like crap. I was like, that was my moment. If I had gotten that puzzle, I would have won. I would have been the big winner. I would have gone to the bonus round and could have won more money. And so I blew it. I blew it. And I felt like crap. So I did. I just was like, man, and wasn't nothing I could do. I just like, okay, I'm just going to go on and keep playing the game, not let it throw me, which is what Pat tells you to do. And I did. I solved some more puzzles after that, or a puzzle after that. So I ended up in second place, and I walked away with $15,372, something like that, worth of prizes, including the trip to the Palm Springs and about $8,000 cash. So I was not mad, because all it took me to do all this was to drive from my place to 35 minutes to go to Sony. And it was well worth it, and it was awesome. So, but the woman who solved the puzzle that I did not get, she ended up being the big winner because she killed on the last 3 toss-ups. Like, she got all 3 of them. And this was before they gave you $10,000 for getting all 3 toss-ups. But anyway, she got all 3. Like, me and the other lady could not compete with her with those. So I just was like, I did the best I could. And I had a ball. And I get to mark it off a bucket list. And I still won a trip. So who can complain? You know, whatever. I can't. I just could have won some more money, which would have been awesome. And I'm still kicking myself that I just couldn't see the word fantastic. And the other puzzles I missed, one was a song from the musical Grease, which I've never seen Grease all the way through. And I don't know Grease like that. I know a few songs from it. But the song was Hopelessly Devoted to You. Did not know that title. Had never heard that song before in my life. So I didn't know that one. I didn't know the puzzle that I missed, Fantastic Experience, just because I had a brain fart. And it was another puzzle I didn't. Those 3 toss-ups. Oh, so after I messed up that puzzle, I did come back and get the last puzzle. So like I said, I won over $15,000 in cash and prizes, which was totally worth it. I already talked about the trip. It was amazing. I absolutely would suggest people to do it. If you get a chance to go on the Wheel of Fortune, you got to take it. You got to do it. You got to go for it. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for most of us. They recently started doing these things where they do fan favorites. So some people actually get to come back and play twice. But they tell you in all the paperwork you fill out before you go that you don't get to do this but once in your life. So that's the plan. So don't plan on doing it more than once. But yeah, I'd love to do it again because it was awesome. I had a great time. But, you know, it kind of makes sense to me that I did not win big on Wheel of Fortune because The Price is Right is my first love and always has been. So I love Wheel of Fortune, but it's my second love. Price is Right is my shit, really. So it makes sense that I won more on The Price is Right than I did on Wheel of Fortune. And in my next episode, I'll tell you even more so why The Price is Right is really my shit, as you'll see in the next episode.